Randa, take it away. We'll mute ourselves so that we can sing along.
You're muted, Randa. You're muted.
Ain't gonna let nobody around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no liars turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let no liars turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Turn us around, no, turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to freedom land.
Welcome everyone to Tuesday with Tillis. This is week number 198. We are a community of nonviolent resistance. I'd like to welcome Phil Fonville, who is with us. We haven't seen him for a long time.
I know. Hey, Karen.
Welcome.
Karen, you got your microphone.
There's something wrong
up
with your microphone.
I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I know what I did. Thank you for telling me. Okay, well, what a week. What a week, right? So people of color saved us once again. And I was reminded by my friend and teacher, Rod Owens, last night, that on Saturday it felt like the end of a Star Wars movie. You know, we won. It was a great feeling. It was dancing in the streets. It was so much fun. And then he reminded me that, you know, there's a franchise and another movie coming up. And the evil empire is still out there, just as evil as ever. And boy, it sure is clear, isn't it, that we have to have laser focus on dismantling white supremacy, and just get smarter and smarter and smarter about its policies and its manifestations in and among us. So I you know, to that end, I want to keep trying to figure out how to center the voices of people of color here, because consistently you all have been people who have kept us on track and been our guiding stars. And Bessie, I didn't warn you about this, but I wondered if you wanted to say something about what you raised to Jade, and I will if you don't want to, but about feeling endangered.
Give me a minute. I have candy in my mouth, but I won't.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, I want to say, first of all, while she's getting ready, is that when we marched in Durham and when we marched in Raleigh in the past few weeks, we also were aware that there were white supremacist terrorist threats. And we also knew that there were a lot of white supremacist terrorist threats around the election. And pretty much election days went off without a hitch, all over the country. And what I found being on the streets in Durham, which a lot of you were, and then in Raleigh, which a lot of you also were, is that I'm feeling more and more strongly like we can't back down and we can't let ourselves be intimidated by these crazy terrorist people. But I wanted to give you a chance to talk, Bessie, if you wanted to. And it's really no pressure, but yeah.
Okay. There's not much I can say except that pretty much what I said in that. My sister sent that to me. It was sent to her. And I don't think she knows exactly who sent it to her or who wrote it. But it just seems like whether it's true or not, it's something that we need to be aware that could happen. For a lot of us, particularly us in the Black community, it's no real surprise. But we just need to be maybe made re-aware or made to remember that just because we won this election doesn't mean that all is well. Just like when Obama won, everybody thought that we had turned the page for accepting Black people as being capable, and that turned out, saw how that turned out. But I think it just heightens the responsibility that we have to be diligent, vigilant, and continue to care and look out for each other, and be aware of what's going on around us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. One thing that was in response to the Jade's email was that Joy sent something from Snopes, which tries to figure out what things are true. And apparently there was a rumor that the NAACP sent out this morning, but that turned out not to be true. But everything that you just said is true. That this is a dangerous time, and we're playing a long game here. And it feels like we just have to really dig in right now. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, Classis, go ahead.
I just want to say, you spoke earlier about white supremacy. I just want to say that, white supremacy doesn't always come in the form of, big burly white guys with guns, spewing hate. Mm-hmm. It could, to me, to us, it seems like it could be anyone who just refused to acknowledge the oppression of Black people. The whole white fragility, people not recognizing that they have played a part in that just through their actions and just through their thought. We'll never know sometimes what they're thinking, but that all comes under the heading of white supremacy, just not acknowledging what has happened and what has caused this division and what has caused us Black people to be where we are and white people to be where you are. It's all the same thing. It just comes with a different outfit. It's all the same thing. Let's look at the article.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jesse. Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to add to that is I'm reading this book, Caste. It's just truly amazing. The things that were experienced way back then, we're still experiencing them now. It could be unconscious bias in so many ways, but the same thing is happening right now.
Mm-hmm. And that article that Beth spoke by really came from Jesse's son, sent that to him. Oh, yeah. And, it's, and I've talked to Beth about, I go out for my walk in the morning. I'm not so comfortable walking in the morning. I feel like we live in a very safe neighborhood. And I feel like if I stay in my little neighborhood, I'm fine. But once I cross the main street over there, nobody knows me. It's a lot of trees. You feel like you can't, if it weren't for the houses, you think you're walking in a park. It's beautiful. But do I really want to put myself out there like that? You know, that article warned us about not going out alone, go out in pairs. You know, you feel like you're back at 10 years old, your mom saying, you know, don't venture off by yourself.
Yeah.
It's frightening. It's frightening. So, I don't know. And then having a son, just a son, that's another layer of really deep concern we have for our Black men.
Yes.
You know, how do we tackle all that? I agree with you, Karen. This is a lifetime journey we're on. This is not, let's do this for a year, let's do this for a few months. No, this is a lifetime journey we're on to make the kind of change that we hope to see happen. And it's going to be up to groups like us, TWT, group like ours, Let's Talk, to make these changes happen.
Yep.
And I would add a personal note regarding that article. It struck me funny as I was reading it that very morning or the day before, I awakened, and I don't know if it was a dream I had or just a feeling that came over me after I woke up, thinking that I felt like I was at one of the rallies I'd gone to. I think it was one downtown in that big open field. I forget exactly what it was called. And we were arm in arm with people singing and chanting. Oh. And there was a white guy on either side of me. And my first thought was, when it happened, okay, this is different. But I didn't feel uncomfortable. But when I woke up, I was thinking, maybe I wouldn't be so willing to do that now. And then I got that article and read it, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is too surreal. So,
yeah,
these things run through our minds.
It does, more than you ever could imagine. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
No, we've been living what we've all been talking about this, but imagine talking about it for the last however many weeks, Karen. You've been keeping track, talking about it all these weeks, and then living it a lifetime. There's a huge difference.
Yes.
And I just have to say thank you to TWT and you, Karen, for going on this journey with us. We so much appreciate it.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, I just feel like once we start this journey, we're on it. Once you start seeing it, you just see more and more and more. And once you start feeling it, then you feel it more and more and more.
Yes, absolutely.
As though you're sort of growing together as one body a little bit. You know?
That's where our group is going now. They just they just grasp and they just hunger for information. They just thirsting to talk about things. And it's great. It's really great.
Yeah, something that Jan wrote in the chat, which is really, I just wanted to say it, that, these kinds of things are intended to terrorize Black people and also to intimidate white people into silence. And we just have to get louder. We have to get louder. Jan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that there's that the purpose of such violent threats against people has multiple intentions, and it lands differently with people of color and white people. And I think it's really an effective tactic too often to force white people into a place that we're only too ready to go to, which is inaction and silence against white supremacy at exactly the time when we need to be much bolder, acknowledging that our risk isn't nearly as great as the risks that Black people take to stand up and push back and fight back. So I also feel the fear that comes when you read things like what Bessie forwarded, and I don't want to give it into it. So it's hard. It's just hard to assess real danger from provoked fear that has a nefarious purpose. So I just wanted to say that.
And again, that is why this movement feels so different now, because the young people are bold and loud and making it clear.
There's something about that book, Cast, which is a really important book, in the chat. Thank you for putting that in. And also Another book that I just want to highlight is Eddie Glaude's book on James Baldwin called Begin Again, which is just really great for this time and us thinking through how to resist and how to create community together. Anyone else want to talk about this? Because we're going to kind of tag on to this idea of supporting the young people and especially young people of color, but I especially want to invite any people of color who want to speak now. Okay, well, speak up anytime. So as you know, some of us, Danny, Tara, Jan, and I, and a few other people have been going to the meetings of this North Carolina Team Democracy, which planned these protests, one in Durham, one in Raleigh, and the one that is coming up this Saturday. And so I was wondering if we might all want to talk about our experiences of these. Either some of us went to both, some of us went to Raleigh, and some of us went to Durham. This is a broad statewide coalition of mostly young people, led mostly by young people of color. Anybody want to speak up about how that was for you? Some of us were marshals. Lori's been going to the planning meetings as well.
It's Jerry. I can just say one or two things if I'm not interrupting. So I was there on Saturday in Raleigh, and I felt so grateful because exactly what you said, Karen, about the young people and especially people of color, but so many people coming together. And I had volunteered as a medic. What was so really beautiful in so many ways was I think how so many people had stepped up to be a marshal. Karen kind of greeted me as I got there. But as I saw at all the perimeters and had an opportunity to talk to many people who were marshaling, their way of kind of deflecting when people might approach either wanting to come into that space that maybe would be not the best place for them to be because they were, well, I'll just say it, they were Trump supporters. And so, but it was in the way they deflected, even if people didn't have a mask on and chose not to want to have one, that they were really very quickly able to just, you know, be present and let people know what the expectation was. And there was an incredible sense of solidarity of so many groups coming together. And I just found that that's really how my heart continues to open up. It's not that I'm doing this work per se, although, you know, in conjunction with so many people, but that to be there when so many groups are organizing, it seems like a real opportunity. So I was really so glad to, you know, be able to be present for that.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you for bringing me water when I really needed it, because I couldn't leave my station, my Marshall station. Thank you.
Karen, I wonder if you're going to be attending more of the meetings of the Team Democracy.
Yes.
Okay, if you would convey to them an apology from the Raging Grannies. We were there on Saturday, and I asked when I got there if we might be permitted to sing a song, and they said no, there was no time on the program, which we understood totally. And we went back and we stood as a group with our banners against the education building wall, because that provided some shade and protection for us from being in a crowd with so many people. At our age, we try to be a little careful about our distancing. But when the speakers finished, so many people had come over to us and said, you know, when are you going to sing and are you going to sing? And we just explained, no, we're not on the program today. We're just here in support. A lot of people came over and wanted to know if we were going to sing. So we thought when the speakers finished, we would sing a song for the people who were standing near us. And we didn't realize when we started singing that was disruptive to the people who were gathered in small groups. We had no idea that we could be heard from where we were and that it would bother them. So I just wanted to, and I did send an apology to, but I don't know where it went, to the Team Democracy. If you could just let them know that it was not our intention to be disruptive and that we're sorry if our song bothered anybody, that would be, we'd like you to do that for us, if you could.
I will say that my experience of being on those calls is I can barely get a word in edgewise. They move really quickly. And what I'm trying to do is just kind of learn so that I can know kind of what to pass on to you all. I'm really not trying to help them make decisions, or, you know, I just can't convey to you how quickly they move, and then they have things that I'm trying to follow in the chat or the Google Docs, and you know, it's really interesting because what I'm learning is how to just completely step aside in a group, and sometimes I try to contribute something, but this is really about that group of young people, and I'm trying to figure out how can we bring our best effort to be behind them and support them, and a lot of that is just being quiet, just showing up and being quiet. So I'm trying to learn how to do that, and you know, for me, that's about like learning how to be an aging person, and you know, anyway, it's a big deal. So Lori might have something to add, and Jan, who have been part of the planning along with Tara and Danny. Why are we doing this? Michael, are you sharing your screen? Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened.
I hear you, Karen. I just wasn't sure that the apology had been received, and I thought it might.
It's okay. It's okay. I just think we all learned how to kind of come and not expect to do anything. You know, it's all a learning. It's all a learning. I feel I've never felt so stupid in my life going to these meetings ever.
Wow.
But it's good for me. It's really good for me. Jade, go ahead.
One of the really nice things that happened Saturday was a group of young people came over to the Raging Granny group who were standing there trying to stay out of the way. And she said, it's very important for us that you all come because we feel safer when elders are among us.
Oh,
isn't that nice?
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So yeah, I hope that lives on in the grannies more powerfully than feeling that you disrupted anything. I mean, you know, I've just felt really like I did the wrong thing so much working with this group, but I think that that's the strongest message is they need us. They just need us to show up with so much humility. And it's very beautiful. Yeah, I could tell you stories that, but I love that you said that. And my experience there has really affirmed what you just said. Lori or Jan, do you want to say anything? And then Wanda, did you? Maybe not.
I do.
Okay, Wanda, go ahead.
I want to ask what kind of crowd was out there. I didn't see any coverage. I kept changing channels, thinking WRAL would cover it or something. I never did see anything about it or talk about how many people.
I think there was some coverage. I think there were about maybe 1,300 to 1,500 people.
Good. Okay.
We probably really would love to have a bigger crowd on Saturday. I think there's a lot of reasons why being present together is important for us. We really need to build a movement, a broad movement of young people and old people. And one thing that I love about this group is there's a lot of rural counties that are getting connected, you know, kind of doing the same kind of thing that Stacey Abrams did in Georgia. So if we can strengthen this coalition and put our energy behind it, we'll be in better shape for 2022 and 24.
Karen?
Yes.
I was able to, I was late for the, gathering in Raleigh and had to leave early. So I was in and out. I think one of the things, it was wonderful to be there and there was some great coverage, and Ailette posted some pictures of the dancing that happened, and that was beautiful. And I was very glad to see the Raging Grannies, and, just glad for everything that Lori and Jade have shared. But, one thing, that was happening just at the time when everybody was pouring into the streets in their localities, because the news had just come out about the election. So there was, that the coverage went there, I think, but still there was some good coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How it felt to be with all of those people, those particular people, was very healing for my soul.
I would like to thank the marshals, the team on Saturday. Of course, the one on the day after the election was great too, but it was a bigger task on Saturday. And it was a bigger space, and we didn't know the size of the crowd. And the marshals were fantastic. Really, I felt safe, and that was hard to be on that day, because you knew that the Trumpists were out there making noise on Jones Street and marching too. But the fact that you all helped us really feel safe was, I think, a remarkable achievement, frankly. And I'm not sure about this Saturday, when we will be at Halifax Mall exactly. I think there are some last minute arrangements and decisions going to be made. But I assure you that people are working really hard to make sure that it's as safe as possible.
Yeah, a lot of people are working really hard on that. Thank you so much, Lori. And, as you all know, there's safety in numbers. Mm-hmm. So the more people that we can get out there, even if you don't feel like you can go for whatever reason, see if you can spread the word about it. I don't have the details yet, but I'll do a really tiny, tiny letter when I get them. We have a permit for Halifax Mall for all of Saturday. So I think we'll be at Halifax Mall at least at 1:00, but there may be a march from Moore Square. We found that we're much better organized than the Trumpies, who had 4 different marches all over Raleigh. And I think that they're going to be at the Capitol on Saturday. It's important that we be on the streets, I think, because on Saturday, there's also a Million MAGA march supposedly happening in Washington, D.C. The more visible we can be, the better, and the more of us that we can be out there, the more safe that people will feel. I just want to say a word about these 2 young women, Lone and Manju, both women of color who are leading the marshals. They're really incredible. And I've enjoyed few things more than in my life as I enjoyed being a marshal under their direction. They would just say, do this, do that, and we would do it. There were 78 marshals, but Manju's trying to get 100 for Saturday. So there needs to be some more people trained, and there's a training Friday at 4:30, and there's marshals of all ages. I think that people who, I'm not completely sure there's going to be a march, but people who don't feel that they can march physically or for any reason, they're still needed in Halifax Mall, just being at entrances. Yeah, Liv, go ahead.
I was also wanting to thank Blueprint, because I sometimes get confused with the names of the organizations that are working together. And Blueprint was stationed where they offered hospitality. They had snacks. They were close to a market, to the street, and they were actually giving away T-shirts and sweatshirts. And welcoming people too. So if you could tell me more about that organization, I would love to hear that about Blueprint.
Most of the people who are kind of doing the work behind the scenes are from Blueprint. It's a network of agencies from throughout North Carolina. Lori and Jan may be able to help me with this. That's about all I know, including rural groups. The executive director is a young woman of color, Serena, who's amazing, who's been really leading us, along with Bridget, who's the head of Down Home. If I say anything wrong, please correct me because I'm wandering into areas I don't know well.
No, I think that's right. And Lib, I think if you just look up their website, you can read a lot about them. They gave a grant to the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign, for example, for Get Out the Vote work. So they do a lot of funding. They pulled together a coalition after Hurricane Florence of groups from across the state. So that's what I know. Yeah, just go read their website to find out their mission statement. Like that.
Well, I just wanted to.
So we're going to move on, Lib, because I realize we haven't talked about Georgia yet. So just one more thing is, I think because of the election, there is funding around this, and there won't be funding forever. To do a big event like this, a march, a rally, takes money. There is money. So I think we should kind of take advantage of this situation and throw as much of our effort behind it as we can. Let's talk about Georgia. Thank you, Herb. We want to talk about Georgia. So how important is that? So last week, some of us were on a call on Friday, and we kind of decided, those of us that were on that call, it wasn't as big a group as this, but most of us who usually come on Tuesdays with Tillis decided that we want to really put major effort into this Senate races in Georgia. Is everybody on board with that?
Yes.
There are so many ways to do it, postcards, letters. I'm looking at the screens to make sure you're all. So let's have questions, comments, ideas about that. I want to really underline that there's a lot of groups out there raising money. And I want to really underline that we need to be giving money to Black-led organizations. There are a couple of them. But everybody and their sister is now raising money for the Senate race in Georgia. So I really want to just say, be careful who you're giving money to. There's Stacey Abrams' organization, of course, Fair Fight. There's also, what's that other one that is led by Black youth? And I'm gonna find it. Okay, what else about Georgia? Patricia?
Doesn't it make sense to give directly to the campaigns, Warnock and Ossoff?
Well, that too. Yeah. You can't go wrong if you give money directly to their campaigns, I think. Dewey?
Yes. Karen, as I sent that time last, had a suggestion for our county Democratic adopt the initiative. And
Dewey, we can't quite understand you.
Okay. Our county party is looking at adopting that event, and Dottie had good Warnock for Georgia there. So I think Rose, she could give, and Michael contacted this. I like the idea.
You know what, Dewey, I'm so sorry, but we cannot understand you. Is there a way you can turn off your video so that all of your Wi-Fi goes to your audio? Or
I'm on the telephone.
Turn it off. Take it off a speaker.
Oh, I don't think it's on speaker. Well, let Rosemary cover some of it.
Okay, I don't think we got any of that. And you are on speaker. So figure out how to take yourself off speaker, and I'm going to move on to Maple and then Sandy.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, just an idea to bounce it from the viewpoint of, since Tillis does not represent us, we need the Georgia senator to be Democrat, something like that, to base it on our Tillis theme. Thanks.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, go ahead. I think there was who else? There was someone else before you, Brian. But go ahead, Brian. I see you. Brian?
Thank you, Sandy. Put in the chat 4 organizations sent to me by one of my faithful, really good young activists in Texas that does a lot. So anyway, so the organizations these are all Black organizations, her top choices. I've got a list of about 30 Black organizations I can send you. But her top choices are Fair Fight Action, the New Georgia Project, Project South, and Southerners on New Ground. I will send you, Karen, the list of the 20 or 30 that she's got that are all Black led.
That's great, Brian. Fair Fight Action, New Georgia Project were the ones I was thinking. And of course, Southerners on New Ground was started by Mandy Carter, our wonderful Durham sister. So thank you.
Yeah, the other Project South. So anyway, this is a very trusted source. She has all of them, and she picked those as the top ones for us. I asked her.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. And I think the Poor People's Campaign is definitely also working in Georgia, but I have no details at this time. Good.
Karen, we don't actually, unfortunately, the Poor People's Campaign doesn't have a strong state campaign in Georgia. And I have a question into national about whether we're going to try to mobilize our people or push our people's actions towards a partner who we can support in that work. And I don't have an answer back yet. So for right now, I personally am just appreciating the recommendations for what nonpartisan groups to do, get out the vote work. I actually think conversations with people in Georgia are as important as money, because the money tends to go towards TV or social media, and those don't touch the real heart of the poor and low income voters that need to
eat pretty healthy, you go to the farmer's market, right?
To go to the to actually take the steps. Georgia, you can request an absentee ballot for this runoff election only until next Wednesday, and they have an early voting period. So there's a lot of ways in which the vote can be suppressed in Georgia. And I really just want to see each of us finding a way to do text bank, phone bank, go to Georgia. They don't even have a length of residency requirement in Georgia. You could move to Georgia and register.
That's an idea.
Let's all go there. Scarlett, go ahead. Go ahead, Scarlett.
Take the driver's license test. I already checked.
My brother and sister-in-law live right outside of Savannah, and they said that if any of us want to come down and canvass in that area, South Georgia, their home is open. It's nothing fancy, but it's open, and when we come home in the evening, there will be adult beverages.
Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you. Doyle.
Yes, I think it would be really helpful if we could have some guidance about how to be involved. I particularly just cannot make telephone calls because I hate to receive them.
Yes,
but I do like to write letters or postcards, and so I've messaged with people at Vote Forward, and they're planning to start a letter sending process. They said either middle to late November. So, I think that's one route, which I think I'll take advantage of. I've also tried to get in touch with Stacey Abrams' organization to see, because I think for those of us who write postcards and letters really need lists of names and addresses of registered Democrats who don't vote very often, who could really benefit from this kind of contact.
Yes, and in the tiny letter is a link to Fair Fight, which is Stacey Abrams' organization. So, and it'll be in this week's too. And I'm sure they'll give you lists, and there's a lot of different ways they're plugging people in. Yeah, Lori.
Reclaim Our Vote, which organized postcards during the campaign, is also organizing postcards for these two elections. So reclaimourvote.org. I've already received a call that, they're doing it. So get on and they'll give you lists of people to write to.
Great. Is that, Lori, is that the one that the NAACP works with?
Uh-huh.
That Reclaim Our Vote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I spoke to Tony Quadraro yesterday, who was setting up the texting program for Poor People's Campaign and the NAACP for various campaigns. And he said there should be something put together by them by the end of the week. So when I find out, I'll let you know.
For Georgia.
Yeah.
Aaron,
Yes, go.
Sierra Club also has a letter writing campaign. I put the link in the chat, and they are sending out forms now, so you can start writing letters today.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Aaron?
Yes.
This is Rosemary. I reached out to John Ossoff's campaign, and I was able to make contact with a woman by the name of Anna Rains, Rains, and she's their volunteer opportunity coordinator. So she gave me information about phone banking, which I can get out. And also they have another way of participating, which is postcards, texting, and canvassing. And I explained that from my perspective, I'm here in North Carolina, so canvassing wasn't something that was on my list, but she would get back with me about what they're going to do with postcard writing and texting.
Great.
And you can also go out to mobilize.us, elect John, and you can sign up for phone banking now. There are opportunities through Mobilize as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Will you put that in the chat?
I will.
Thanks.
Mark, go ahead.
Does anybody have a lead on if we could go in person, who we would coordinate with to make sure that we're kind of coordinating with who we're going to canvass in person?
I think Fair Fight. Fair Fight or the New Georgia Project.
There are links on their candidates' websites to volunteer.
Okay,
so I'm sure that they'll get in touch with you, Mark.
Hi, Jeanette. Go ahead. Jeanette, did you have your hand raised?
Did someone say you can only request absentee ballots in Georgia through next week?
No, I think it's like December 5th. Is that what you saw? That's also in the tiny letter, the timeline for Georgia.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, Pat. Yeah,
is it true that people all over the state of Georgia will be voting for both senators?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So those two seats. So I know you've been paying attention to this. Some people are completely blown away that Georgia is so very turning blue, so very tied. And of course, Stacey Abrams deserves so much credit for that. And she's taught us so much. And I've also been thinking about how Reverend Barber has been saying over and over and over again, don't ignore the South. The South is how we're going to win back this country. And so, boy, North Carolina could be Georgia in a few years, I think, if we all really dig in. So I'm kind of excited that we're going to be learning from these campaigns and from these organizations that Stacey Abrams started. I think she started both of those first two on the list in the chat. And I think that Reverend Warnock, who's running for one of the seats, was formerly the executive director of the New Georgia Project. I think that I read that. So we're going to learn a lot from these people. And I'm really excited that we have a thing to do. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, and I think if you look at where the Democratic votes were occurring in Georgia, with Savannah, Atlanta, and other strongholds, I think we need to concentrate on those areas and make sure that group comes out again in January. I don't know that spending a lot of time in the middle of the red area is going to buy us much, frankly.
Well, one thing though is I keep thinking about what Reverend Barber has said over and over about, poor people have been so disenfranchised. And I don't know about you, but I got 20 different texts and phone calls and emails asking me if I voted. And it would be really good if we could figure out, I'm not disputing what you're saying, but can we target some of these people, especially poor people who
That's a good point. Yep.
who are off the grid, that we need to draw in?
Thank you, Karen. That's a good point.
Yeah, Randa.
In the mix here, of course, is what in God's name Trump and all his people do for the next 2 months. That is going to really reverberate with how that vote goes. I mean this, maybe he'll blow it completely and it'll be good for the vote for us. That's what I mean. So, eek, just throwing that in, something unknown at this moment.
Well, I think eek is a really good segue into what we should also talk about. Dewey, you're still on speaker. Which is, McConnell, right? McConnell talked to Barr, and now Barr is weaponizing the Department of Justice to try to challenge these votes. And probably this is really all about McConnell's trying to wreck Georgia and get control of the Senate, because nothing is more important to him than getting control of the Senate. So what is he willing to trash on his way to staying in power? So, anybody else want to talk about this transition period, what Trump and the Republicans are and are not doing? Bessie?
To your point about McConnell, that's one of my greatest concerns, is that in his attempt to hold on to power, we need to be strategic about what we do and how we do it and where we spend money, because money doesn't always guarantee a win. With Mitch McConnell.
That's right.
He will find money and push money wherever he wants to or needs to in order to win.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Darlene?
I feel like these Republican senators that are staying silent and or mimicking Mitch McConnell are enabling Trump to just continue to get crazier and crazier. I've called Tillis and Burr yesterday and today, and I got through to both of them yesterday and today.
Wow.
Just blasted them that, that the institutions of our democracy are being destroyed by not allowing this transition to go forward. And I think we just have to flood them with phone calls. I know you agree with me, Karen. I don't know if anybody else does, but I think it makes a difference.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, Karen.
Yeah.
This is Mary.
Hi, Mary. Hi.
Okay. Listen, I just wanted to say that what really concerns me is the percentages that I see in Georgia. When I see that Warnock has about 35%, but the other two people who are the next leading people have 20-some. If we add those percentages, that's 40-some%. And so it strikes me as almost impossible for for Warnock to get a win in that area. And so I see that all the comments talk about how to work with Democrats. And so to me, I think that part of the issues, which is extremely difficult, is how do we confront not viciously, but confront respectably the opposite side, the Republicans. How do we try to change their opinion or draw them into our perspective? And no one seems to be talking about that. And to me, that is the issue at hand. We've got to change hearts and minds in order to change votes. So that's my comment. I mean, I just would like to hear other people's remarks about how can we kind of whittle away at that. I know it's not going to be a great change, but, you know, it may be possible that we could turn a few, and that few could be what's needed.
And Mary, let me just, I'm so glad you spoke and that you're with us. Are you talking about Georgia or North Carolina or both?
Well, it should be both. It should work anywhere, but I was really speaking about Georgia.
Okay.
Because the percentages that I was talking about was the percentages in the Warnock race, where he's ahead by 35%, but he's got other two opponents who have 20-some percent each, which adds up to 40 or 50%, and it almost seems it's impossible for him to exceed that. And so we're worried about getting out more Democratic votes, but we don't seem to be talking about how to change some of the Republican hearts. And
Okay,
to me,
great.
that's the issue. It's difficult, but it's an issue.
Great point. Great point. Does anyone want to speak to that?
I have a question. So will this runoff, will it be three-way or only two-way? They will pick one of the other two, or will it be another three-way race?
Everybody's saying two. It's two-way, so that may help.
It's gonna be Warnock against Kelly Loeffler. She won more votes than Collins did, and so Collins is gone. But between the two of them, I think Loeffler and Collins had over 50%.
No.
That's correct, but still, when you add those other two up, the highest two, that's 40%. I mean, that's 40 to 50% of the total vote.
Right.
Oh, let's.
Right, but
Okay.
some of those independents are going to come our way.
Okay. So can we leave the numbers and talk about the point that Mary is making? What about the people that may have voted Republican? How do we talk to them?
It's not a given that they will even come out, because Trump's not going to be on the ballot.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, I think if there were some country music people who were, Democrats. I'm saying music. There's that kind of business of following stars to what they're saying. That's a little bit in the mix.
Look at Willie Nelson out there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about his sell in Georgia, but a little bit. But you know what I mean is that's in the mix of getting those people going on.
Okay, Ms. Harris, you have your hand up. You've got the floor.
Yes, it is said that Democrats don't come out to runoff races as much as Republicans do. So I do think we have to be concerned about what Republicans think, and perhaps swaying some of them as well as independents.
Thank you. Mike.
Yeah, I think you need four people to definitely turn out there. One is Obama, the two Obamas, Michelle and Barack. You need Biden and Harris there. And you need the people to go out and vote in the Biden-Harris coalition, which got approximately 50% of the vote. So with that, for Warnock, I think it's a natural that he picks up all those votes that Biden and Harris got. Plus, he might draw people in, people of color who didn't vote, and maybe not lose so many of the, I don't know how many male white voters voted for Trump in Georgia, but there were higher percentages than voted for Hillary Clinton. So you get that coalition together, I think he's got a good chance of winning.
I think there's a lot of hope as well. I mean, we're just one group, and we're planning to put a lot of energy into this. Not alone.
And Purdue was just not that bright. So I think
that's true.
That John Ossoff really, he made such ground. I think there's still ground to be made for him.
Well, and they've got a circular firing squad going on down there with the Republicans. The two Senate candidates are demanding that the Secretary of State resign, and he's a Republican.
Yes. Go ahead, Gerardo.
I just wanted to say, amidst all this talk about the election, let's not forget that the Supreme Court is hearing the Affordable Care Act case. I don't know why they picked it up. It pisses me off. They didn't have to pick it up. But let's just not forget that these sneaky, lying Republicans are trying to take away people's health insurance during a pandemic. And how dare they, a lot of them, win re-election. So we need to blast them.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something about Georgia again. I think that with education, and I find it interesting that people who were not registered will be able to register for this runoff, apparently. And between Stacey Abrams educating people and encouraging people and she's adamant that Georgia will turn out for this this runoff. So we need to keep that in mind and be encouraged by that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's let it go there and let the grannies. Oh, Jerry, go ahead.
So I think what's interesting is that Kelly Loeffler is at least part owner of the women's soccer team there. And I think that whole team has been completely very outspoken against her. And because we saw so many sports people with this last national election be so outspoken and organized, that actually one of the things I'll do today is be in contact with that soccer team, because I don't know how much power they have per se, but I do know that so many sports folks got organized against against Trump for the last election, that they do have a lot of power, I think.
And actually, I think it's the WNBA.
Yeah, it's basketball.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's even better than soccer.
Thank you. That's right.
Can I say one thing?
Okay, everyone.
Can I say one thing before we go on? I think it would make sense to pool our resources and just send our money to Stacey Abrams' group.
Well, I think everyone's going to make their own decision.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank all the wisdom. Thank you all for so much wisdom and everything that each of you bring. I'm so grateful to you. I feel so hopeful. We're going to have the grannies sing us out, and then Susan's going to say some words to us. Thank you so much.
I have something important. I think I was reminded to say that this Saturday is a nonpartisan event. We've been reminded that those organizers, especially Blueprint, who are organizing the C3 and C4 organizations throughout the state, cannot be partisan, and that their status is threatened if there's a partisan message to this event Saturday. So bring your messages about democracy and joy about voting, but nonpartisan signs.
So
sorry, I had to say it.
So that would just mean no, like, Trump is bad and Biden is good signs, right? But we can express our opinion about other things, right? Okay, terrific. Thank you, Lori. That was important. Okay, grannies.
Okay, we're ready. This is a pivotal time in our lives, and this granny song is offered to you today to take a strong stand for our future efforts together.
Don't forget.
Go, Vicky.
All right, we'll do that one more time. We're not giving up. We are not ever giving up.
We know we're in this struggle for the long haul. We're not giving up.
Shoulder to shoulder, we're not giving up. Together we grow bolder, we're not giving up. We know we're in this struggle for the long haul, and we're not giving up.
We voted and we're winning, we're not giving up. Today's a new beginning, we're not giving up. We know we're in this struggle for the long haul. We're not giving up.
Precious community, we're not giving up. Our loving gives us unity, we're not giving up. We know we're in the struggle for the long haul. We're not giving up.
Woo!
We're not giving up. We are not ever giving up. We know we're in the struggle for the long haul. We're not giving up.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you all. Wow. We are not giving up. And I've been thinking there's a story about the wise and foolish maidens. The foolish ones used up all their oil, and the wise ones kept some on hand. And this gathering today is like oil. This is what keeps us going. This is fuel so that we may not give up. This wisdom, this sharing, this humble learning, this commitment to the long-term struggle, this music, this joy in the midst of this struggle. This is the oil. So thank you all. Friends, keep some oil on hand, but share some too, that your light might keep on shining. So shine on and forward together.
Not one step
back. Forward together.
Not one
step back. Forward together.
Not
one step
back. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everyone.